Welcome, everyone, to the Tethys Shipyards Strategic Analysis Division, where we study the conflicts of the past and speculate the conflicts of the future. I am Takeshi Yamato, the Yard Master, joining our host and strategic analyst, the Housecoat Gamer.
Yo.
Today, well, we're covering a very interesting conflict. We start on the end of the Milky Way galaxy around the time of the Borg Kingdom incursion.
For anyone curious about this, the Borg Kingdom is the mirror version of the Borg Collective, which are very, very broken because somehow they're immune to kinetic energy weapons, when no Borg is immune to them.
Yeah. And they also use anti-proton weaponry.
Regardless, the state of the Star Trek galaxy isn't exactly great. The Klingons have been completely screwed, thanks to both the House Mokai incident and their orc army. Go ahead, rewatch TOS, Enterprise, and then the TMP movies. Tell me how those aren't exactly the same, and show me how the orcs from STD look anything like them.
Yeah. Anyway, that screwed things up in the Empire to the point where a schism happened and Jim Puck was dethroned. And what do you say? Do we have Martok retake the chancellorship, or do we have him give it to Worf?
I'm of the personal opinion that Martok would do it, though Worf would be a chief advisor. Because Worf knows what must be done.
Fair enough.
The Romulan Republic isn't as bad, but then again, they didn't exactly have a large industrial base to begin with. They have the Solanae Dyson Sphere, though the Jure system is still firmly in Federation space, so they can build science destroyers, which we're going to have to cover at some point. The Dominion has a separatist movement to deal with, not to mention recovering from the Herc conflict, and while the Federation had more industrial worlds destroyed, well, they have bigger industry than almost every galactic power save the Dominion.
Yeah. So the Federation, while it has taken a fair bit of damage, is recovering.
Their only shortage is, well, people.
Yeah. And as such, specialist crews are honestly required to visit trouble spots and deal with threats. And a few special ops teams have been assigned to the Mirror Borg problem. One of the Federation's most iconic problem shooters, yes, problem shooters, not troubleshooters, or maybe more problem enders, is the USS Rockailoom A. NCC 94517A. If you've seen our Tethys Shipyards Heroes video, you know this thing.
She's the evil boat.
Yes, the liberated Borg starship. The command of Captain Ronald Pinkerton. The asshole. The fleet destroyer. The...
The man who gets everything.
Yeah. And another elite group that handles a fair amount of problems is the USS Minerva, commanded by his little sister figure, Tatsuki Yamato. she's still pretty high up on the rage and will kill everything list, but she is more of a techie. Ron, Ron just wants to build. Captain Pinkerton just wants to build star bases. Captain Yamato is fine tinkering in her lab, designing new technological advances, be it weapons or otherwise.
And yet, everything just wants them to keep murdering everything in sight.
Yup, it does. It doesn't really. It doesn't make things easier that Tatsuki's father, Admiral Takeshi Yamato, is one of the higher ups in Starfleet at this point, commanding the Federation Fourth Fleet, and well, Ron and Tatsuki are two of the most skilled people he knows, and their crews are equally skilled.
Speaking of which,
So
those two will be spearheading this little engagement. And your
yeah,
crews, should you decide to, will be assigned to assist them in any and all tactical operations. Because these crews are not known for their diplomatic flair. If anything, they
yeah,
cause diplomatic problems.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, these two have caused their fair share of diplomatic incidents, even as they have solved numerous crises. The fame of Kirk, the diplomatic skills of a brick wall.
Well, to be honest, brick walls do end fights pretty decisively.
Yeah. Just not in the most politic ways.
Which brings us to the other end of the spectrum. How are we going to include the war side of the equation? Obviously, it's
Yeah.
going to involve the Iconian Gateway in some fashion. After all, in the latest mission from STO, it has been shown to be capable of sending people to alternate universes. Which,
Yeah.
to be fair, does make a lot of sense.
It does. So basically we're going to have to there's two ways you can do this. One, one there's a test of some new protocols to expand the reach of where the gateway can go to, or two, there's a misalignment in the targeting routines. One is intentional, one is accidental.
Coin flip? For the one
Well,
that makes most sense?
yeah, whatever makes the most sense for your game. It's up to your recognizance GMs. Either can work.
Regardless, both of those ships will be involved in pretty much every operation involved here. That said, when you make contact with both sides, this will be at pretty much the beginning of the Clone Wars. Which
Right.
brings up the two sides in the Clone Wars.
The Galactic Republic and the Confederacy of Independent Systems. So, you are going to arrive basically at a major time of turmoil. However you make first contact with the locals, the Galactic Republic and the major governing body for many millennia is, well, it's fracturing. 10 years ago, a group called the Trade Federation blockaded a planet near in the Outer Rim known as Naboo. And, well, let's just say things got a bit crazy, and 10 years later, the effects are still being felt as the Republic, as systems are splintering off from the Republic to form the Confederacy of Independent Systems, led by a man known as Count Dooku.
I believe his name is Yan Dooku, but we'll just call him Dooku for now. Also, he
Yeah.
was kind of mistaken. Naboo is in the mid-rim.
Ah, mid-rim.
Pretty
Gotcha.
close to the outer, but you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway, you will be arriving shortly before the event known as the Battle of Geonosis. The question is, which side will you join? There will be campaign missions involving both sides. So the crux of the matter is, do you join the corrupt and very, very, very decaying Republic? Because let's be honest, the Republic is kind of asshole-ish at this point in time and very slowly inching towards the Galactic Empire we all know and sometimes hate from movies. Or do you join the CIS, which is seemingly trying to emulate the United Federation of Planets, albeit under, shall we say, corporate leadership? Because it's kind of an open secret that the corporate heads of the CIS's major funders are in charge.
Yeah, the Trade Federation, the Commerce Guilds, the Intergalactic Banking Clan, the Techno Union.
Within a couple of years, the Zygerian slave empire. You get the general idea. Neither side is entirely or even partially nice. No matter what, you're screwed.
Yeah. The question is which side. However, on either side, you have the possibility of injecting a little Federation morality into the picture.
The question is, will Palpy let you?
Fair enough. Fair enough. Palpy, from behind the scenes, the shadowy power behind the Clone Wars, will be fighting you tooth and nail at fighting your attempts at reform and morality injections tooth and nail. Because, well, the shadowy power behind the wars is playing both sides of the galaxy against each other to weaken his enemies before he just seizes everything.
So, the question is, do you join the Confederacy of Independent Systems, which has a sizable army of robotic warriors who you are eventually going to discover are basically sentient slaves, because, well, let's be honest, they have a great amount of personality, and you don't have personality if you're not a, well, sentient being.
Yeah. Or do you join the Galactic Republic, which has recently discovered that they have access to an army of clones?
Who are a little more overt about the fact that they're basically slaves. Let's be honest here, the clones are slaves. They're a slave army, designed to do one thing and one thing only.
Yeah.
66. So this is basically Mission 0. First contact. You have made first contact with the civilizations of this new universe. And you are attempting diplomatic relations. Shortly before the Battle of Geonosis.
Yeah.
The only question is, which side do you take?
So yes, you'll have to pick a side. While you may try to be the middle ground, circumstances will force you to side one way or the other. And it's not going to be pretty. And if this was an intentional trip, as opposed to an accidental mistargeting, the episode will probably end with having to make a report back to command. Pretty much any episode in an intentional scenario would involve making a report back.
And because this involves a potentially hazardous situation that will involve lots of gunfire, Starfleet Command sends its two very specialized anti-stupid brigades to deal with the problem. The Minerva and the Rockeye Loom.
Yeah. But they probably won't be the only ones because, well, Chancellor Martok will definitely want to support his Federation allies. Not to mention any Klingon warriors who go with them will be seeking a chance for glory and honor.
Which brings up a certain tier of warriors. There are going to be about 5 tiers of capability, which kind of correspond to 6 tiers of starship development.
Yeah.
Tier 1 is recommissioned STD starships.
Recommissioned Enterprise starships.
Most of those would probably be long since retired and scrapped.
So tier 1.
Which is kind of why I started with the STD boats. Though not the ones as they seen in the series. Now,
they will most likely be the ones from the Ages of the Federation mod for Sin. We're looking at the Star Wars mod.
Next tier up is obviously recommissioned TOS vessels from the Mothball fleet. Those around, and thanks to Conrad being an idiot, they're probably going to be recommissioned on a massive scale. Next tier up, tier 3, TMP era stuff. You've seen most of those, thanks to the glorious Klingon Academy 2 mod.
The next tier up, ships from the time of the Enterprise D's famous voyages, as well as the Dominion War.
Well, there's also the Lost era. Those are 4.5, or Gen 4.5, but the point remains.
Yeah. And then there's modern ships. And also, no matter what era of ship, another thing is it started up primarily in the Dominion War, but starting with the new Federation Klingon War in 2405, I would imagine the Frankenstein fleet would have made a return.
Mostly out of necessity. I'm going to presume those are primarily assigned to resupply duties. Remember, Logi is life. More so than victory.
But the Frankenstein fleet is basically could also be called the Kit Bash fleet.
Because that's effectively what they are.
Yeah. If you're a Star Wars fan, these things, the most common form, the best analog I could think of would be uglies. If you don't know what those are basically starfighter kit bashes. Like the fuselage of an X-Wing with the wings of a TIE fighter, or a TIE fighter ball cockpit with the wings of an X-Wing. etc., etc., or any other combination of parts.
This is going to make the assumption that you are, holy crap, that is loud.
Yeah.
That you are going to be making contact with either side. Now the question is, which side will you take? Mission A, the A series will assume you are siding with the Republic. The B series will assume you've sided with the Confederacy. Mostly
Yeah.
because, well, it's not going to end well for anybody.
Either way.
Regardless, that is Mission 0 of the Clone Wars. Begun they have. Screwed you are.
Yep. Mission 1, A or B, is going to be the first actual shots of said war at Geonosis.
Which will actually involve me doing something not involving Sins of the Solar Empire.